Ancient Egypt is forcing archaeologists to rewrite our history. A mystical glass sarcophagus with a monk, a mysterious find in China, and ancient technological devices could change the course of history forever. Watch this video till the end and you will be surprised. Hi friend, you're on the KirTop channel. 3 skulls and technological devices. Let's talk about a mystery that I was able to discover by literally digging on the internet. And although there is little information about this, and not a single article has been confirmed by official sources, I feel that I just need to share this with you. In 2014, in Antarctica, Russian scientists reportedly found 3 human skulls that are over 80,000 years old. They found them in a thawed cave. The Russian explorers repeatedly got there earlier than their American colleagues, despite their great desire to get there. This story has become a hot topic among supporters of the theory of the existence of Atlantis and Hyperborea. Some argue that the skulls belong to representatives of these mythical civilizations. According to reports, in 2019, an article appeared stating that the skulls were elongated, like those of the Peruvians from the Paracas caves. And here's the thing, after 2019, there is even less information. But an interesting detail came from America. Steve Alex Bonnet, a former polar explorer, said in a podcast that the Russians had found not only the skulls, but also the technology of an ancient civilization. Moreover, he suggested that this civilization could be extraterrestrial. Maybe it's all just a fantasy, but let's pretend it's true. Then, the Russian polar explorers found the technology of an ancient civilization, perhaps even aliens, and it is not surprising that the Academy of Sciences is trying to hide this information. If all this is true, then the polar explorers delivered these artifacts to scientific institutes where they are currently being studied. And who knows, we may soon learn about new technological breakthroughs thanks to their work. So let's wish the scientists good luck and dive into the next archaeological stash together. Ancient Astro Tomb. In Spain, in the place where the sleeping giant lives, archaeologists have discovered a treasure that is 5,000 years old. And the sleeping giant is actually a huge rock in the region of Andalusia. The treasure they found is an incredible stone tomb called Piedras Blancas, which translates to white stone. And so archaeologists are sure that this tomb was built at the same time when the most ancient megaliths were created in Antiquera. This is about 3000 BC. They even found ceramic offerings next to it. But what is even more amazing is that this tomb was built for a reason, so that it is precisely aligned with the stars. Yes, just like in a sci-fi movie. This means that ancient people used it not only as a tomb, but also as an observation platform for studying the starry sky. They knew where and when important astronomical events such as the solstice and equinox would occur, and most likely they held special rituals and celebrations at this place. These amazing discoveries shows how smart and resourceful our ancestors were. They created incredible structures that served not only as a refuge for the dead, but also as a tool for understanding the world around them. And here we are, thousands of years later, continuing to learn from them thanks to these amazing discoveries. Mystical Riddle. I will tell you about one amazing geological mystery that happened on the island of Andran in the Indian Ocean. Andran is a volcanic island that was created when underwater tectonic plates parted and magma erupted. When it cooled down, basalt formed. This is what our island consists of. But something very strange is happening on Andran. What do you think can be found on a volcanic island? Usually, you will definitely not find quartzite there. It is a sedimentary rock similar to sandstone, which is formed from quartz sand in river deltas. A basalt island like Andran lacks quartz and is too young to have a river delta. But an amazing thing happens. Quartzite is continuously found on the island and its quantity is simply stunning. Geologists have found these strange stones for more than 100 years ago. In 1900, scientists noticed unusual rocks similar to quartzite, but then the description was too scarce. In 1969, they discovered a large sandstone which turned out to be quartzite. History repeated itself in 2017 when a French geologist discovered even larger deposits of quartzite. A few years later, Cornelia Class of Columbia University set out to solve the mystery. The most interesting thing is that the locals have known about these stones for a long time. They've been using them for decades to sharpen their knives. When scientists conducted research, the results were amazing. quartzite literally took up half the mountain. The mystery has not yet been solved, as scientists suggest a piece of quartzite from the continental crust could somehow end up in the ocean and rise 4,000 meters during a volcanic eruption. But there are no traces of quartzite on the basalt rocks of the island. As Klaas says, it's like seeing a wizard that shouldn't be there. In the future, scientists hope to solve this mystery by studying the age of quartzite. This will help to understand when and how it ended up on a volcanic island. Winged Mummy. I want to remind you of an amazing story that can be mistaken for the plot of a science fiction movie, but it was the reality of 1914. Imagine, a group of brave merchants sets up across the ocean in search of undiscovered artifacts, and they find it, a glass sarcophagus like in a fairy tale, and inside it, oh a miracle, a sleeping priest named Gomez, straight from the lost city of Atlantis. At the bottom of the ocean, our heroes also found other items, for example, rods with text in an incomprehensible language. Scientists were able to decipher them, and now we know that this priest volunteered to go into a long sleep in order to return one day and tell about his lost city. However, there is another interesting thing. This is not the only sarcophagus. As the text indicates, there are many of them, and each of the priests wakes up once a century to check whether humanity is ready to accept the knowledge of the great Atlantis. And if we're still not ready, they go back to their dream. The story gets even more interesting. The sarcophagus falls into the hands of the Soviet Secret Service, where it begins its thorough study. And here's something unusual happens. When the leading figures of the country came to look at this find, everyone fell ill. But there is an explanation. I have repeatedly said that people get sick because of an infection that lives with mummies. Another sarcophagus was found by Turkish archaeologists, but instead of celebrating their discovery, they ended up in court as the government classified their discovery. There was a being inside that could have been a human, but it wasn't. It was a creature with huge eye sockets, no nose or ears, and incredibly thin fingers. And wings, guys, real wings. It seems that before us is representative of an alien civilization. The sarcophagus appeared to be made of glass, but in fact it was incredibly strong and consisted of an unknown material containing at least 15 different minerals. Incredible, isn't it? How real do you think this story is? Are there really mummified monks who are able to wake up once every 100 years? After all, we know of cases when the ancient monks, with the help of meditation, plunged into a deadly sleep, though we still have no recorded cases of awakening. Write your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. 2-meter human skeletons. And now I will tell you about an amazing archaeological find: anthropomorphic seals that depict a human figure. They seem to stand guard over the ancient tomb of the early Bronze Age. But what is even more surprising is that inside the tomb, they found the remains of people quite tall even by today's standards. They were covered with red ochre, and scientists believe that they may be the ancestors of modern Europeans. Imagine, our ancestors could be basketball star players today. Archaeologists discovered these remains in the Prehistoric in the Grigoriopol region in May 2023. Scientists suggest that they may be up to 5,000 years old, but we will know the exact dating only after radiocarbon analysis. And who were these ancient people? Everything indicates that they were nomadic pastoralists, often hunted and sometimes even encountered wolves and bears, judging by the remains found in the graves. But this is where things get even more interesting. In Transnistria, archaeologists have found a children's tomb, and inside of it is a stone in the shape of a heart. Researchers are sure that this is part of the burial rite of the Yamnaya culture. These amazing discoveries are made by archaeologists, and these are only 7 burials that they explored. Who knows what awaits us next? Watch this video to the end, it will be even more interesting. The oldest human footprints in Germany. Imagine a huge lake surrounded by sparse birches and pines and dense thickets of grass on the shore. This is Germany, only about 300,000 years ago. Giant elephants, rhinos, and other majestic creatures of that time came here to drink water, and on the shore of this lake, exactly where the city of Schöningen is now located. The Heidelberg people, our ancient ancestors, left their traces. Scientists accidentally found footprints imprinted on soft silt and then petrified. And this is simply amazing because these traces were left by an adult, a teenager, and even a child. Maybe it was a family outing or someone playing on the beach, we can only guess. Who were these Heidelberg people? They lived in Europe and Africa about 130,000 years ago and are considered our distant ancestors, the direct predecessors of the Neanderthals. They chose places to live near lakes or rivers where you could always find something tasty: fruits, berries, mushrooms, and much more. But people were not the only ones who left traces in Schoningen. They also found paw prints of large land animals of that time, extinct species of elephants, and even traces of a rhinoceros. By the way, such prints of rhinoceros were found in Europe for the first time. Ancient birds in the Temple of Isis. Have you ever heard of the ancient city of Pompeii? Stuck in time after the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Today we will travel to it to find out about one interesting find. Archaeologists have made an amazing discovery at the Temple of Isis, one of the most popular goddesses of ancient Egypt. But wait a minute, what is an Egyptian goddess doing here? Oh guys, Isis was so adored that her cult even got to ancient Rome. So even in Pompeii she had her own temple. During excavations, archaeologists discovered something unusual: the remains of birds, many birds. Experts suggest that the ancient inhabitants of Pompeii held a feast in honor of Isis to appease her after the temple had to be downsized. A terrible earthquake damaged the temple in 62, and the priests probably decided that they needed to calm down the offended goddess. Imagine 3 priests in just one day arrange a feast. They eat birds prepared for Isis as a symbol of atonement. On the fiery sacrificial altar, dishes of chickens, geese, and pigeons are prepared, and the remains of a pig and mollusks lie on the floor. All this is an offering to Isis in the hope of her mercy. Interestingly, Isis was often depicted with bird wings. Maybe that's why birds were sacrificed in her honor. This find confirms that birds played an important role in the cult of Isis, so the next time you look at a bird, remember this story. Really, in ancient times, birds could be part of a great religious ritual. He knew about the existence of women only from books. This episode will focus on an incredible story that seems to have come straight from the pages of legend. This story begins back in 1938 with a news article in the Edinburgh Daily Courier. Don't worry, it's related to archaeology. The article read: "A monk who has never seen a woman has died in Greece." Imagine a monk named Michael Tholotus who spent his entire life in a monastery on the majestic Mount Athos. He was born in 1856, and immediately after his birth, his mother died and no one knew his father. The little orphan was left on the threshold of an Orthodox church, where he was found and raised by monks. The laws of Mount Athos, where he lived, were strict. Women were not allowed there. And so it happened that Michael spent his whole life not seeing women. His knowledge of them was based only on the stories of other monks and books. The ban on visiting Mount Athos by women and domestic animals such as cows or sheep has been in effect since the 10th century and still exists. It is associated with the vow of celibacy given by the monks of Athos. But not only women were not seen by Michael Tholotus, he also never saw cars, planes, or even movie theaters. After all, he did not leave the monastery all his life. Death overtook him in 1938 at the age of 82, and he was buried with great honors as the only man who had never seen a woman. Now Mount Athos is a UNESCO World Heritage Site visited by thousands of tourists every year, but women are still banned from entering, sparking controversy and accusations of discrimination. There are 20 monasteries on the mountain where about 2,000 Orthodox monks from all over the world live. 17 of these monasteries belong to the Greeks and the rest to the Serbs, Bulgarians, and Russians. Sounds incredible, doesn't it? And all this is a part of the history that we dig up every day to learn more about our past. And in order not to miss a new video on the channel, which I am already preparing for you, subscribe to the channel and click on the bell so you will be the first to know about the release of a new video. Thanks for your views, bye everyone!